Welcome and bienvenidos to Cultural Capacity, a podcast sponsored by Educator Aid Incorporated, where our team is committed to supporting individuals and organizations on their journey of self-aware leadership, emotional wellness, and development of effective cross-cultural communications. Let's get ready to explore the following topics together by biting into them with little pieces that go really deep to examine ourselves. Topics like bias, culture, cultural psychology, cultural neuroscience, diversity, equity, inclusion, and racial equity. Our episodes are all 10 minutes or less and intended to serve as introspective tools for you as the individual leader or the teams that you're leading. Be sure to check out the links in the podcast description where you can sign up for our free quarterly subscription, Better Community, as well as tap in and submit your questions via the voice message button. Let's get ready to learn together. This episode is all about why it is so beneficial for leaders to travel. That's right. When you travel, especially with team members and your colleagues, it builds an incredible container to rapidly ignite collaboration and trust and new experiences. And what happens from a cultural neuroscience perspective when we are put out of our comfort zone, what happens is we are forced to create new ways of thinking by the growth of synapses in the brain. So, the only way that we really exercise muscles to develop a new pattern of thinking, specifically for trying to break through a bias that we hold or expand our view of the world, our perceptions of the world that we live in right now, um, we have to actually literally get out of our comfort zone. Quite literally, I mean that. And one of the easiest fastest ways to do that and build your cultural mindset muscles, your cultural capacity, is to travel to someplace very different than perhaps what you're used to. So I'll share a very quick story. I got the incredible opportunity to travel to Bali, Indonesia, in 2020, actually the very start of the year in January, before the peak of the COVID-19 crisis across the world. And it was incredible and one of the most meaningful and moving experiences that I got the opportunity to be a part of was a traditional Balinese cleansing ceremony. And I was there with some other leaders in their respective sectors, and we all got to be part of this ceremony together. It was quite healing. It was quite spiritual, but it was also just so eye-opening and moving at what normalcy this was for many, many people on the island, and learning about the practices outside of the spiritual traditions that I was raised in. Many of those religious traditions, right? And religion, just to clearly define, so we're all working off of the same roadmap here. Religion is simply a set of human made rules, right? Based upon theology, based upon belief systems, etc., and interpretation of holy scriptures or texts. So, religion, quite different definition than spirituality. But when I say it was a spiritual experience, for me personally, it was. And so I want to actually close this episode, this very brief episode, as you ponder, where might I travel next? Or if maybe you're traveling for the first time internationally or wondering if you should, I do know I speak to many people who it actually scares them. It's quite frightening to them to think about flying to a different country than where they live, because many of us, we stay in the same country that we're born in our whole lives, and that's very common. So if you're sitting there thinking right now, oh, I don't want to travel to another country, maybe you start out smaller and you choose to visit a different type of religious service on the weekend, right? Or throughout your week. Maybe you do something like that as a start. Now, before you would engage in these things, I would highly, highly encourage you from a cultural capacity lens of building. Please, please, please take some time educating yourself. Take some time talking with others who have either traveled to those places or attended those events or those religious services that you might be pondering if you should check out, right? As an experience for you to grow and learn, for you to expand your world. Please take time to educate yourself and also engage with others who have either traveled to that place consistently or currently attend consistently at whatever event or ceremony, etc., that you might be looking to attend, and engage yourself and activate those new synapses within your brain to build new experiences and new patterns of thinking. So all that to say, one of those people who I've learned so much from, actually, from many of his TV shows over the years, may he rest in peace, is Mr. Anthony Bourdain. Many of you might know he had a very popular show. He's a chef by trade, but had a popular show called Parts Unknown, as well as some other different shows and specials. He's written many, many books as well. His most recent text that was released was collections prior to his death, from some of his travels, and it comes from the text called World Travel: An Irreverent Guide. It's a beautiful text. If you get into understanding travel, or you want to start someplace that's also very easy to digest and hop around within the text, I strongly suggest this book. Again, it's called Anthony Bourdain. It's by Anthony Bourdain, but his name is big on the front, as well as World Travel: An Irreverent Guide. All right. So I'm just going to read you the back of the text because it's a direct excerpt from him, and I will leave you with that. So many of the good times traveling this world relate directly to finding a human face to associate with your destination, the food you eat, and the memories you'll keep with you forever. The best times are when it's impossible to be cynical about anything. When you find yourself letting go of the past and your preconceptions and feel yourself in your basic nature, the snarkiness and suspicion, the irony and the doubt disappear, at least for a time, when for a few moments or a few hours, you change. Happy learning, and let's get compassionately curious together. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself today and tuning in to this episode of the Cultural Capacity Podcast. We're glad you're here. If you found value in this episode, be sure to share out with your social networks. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a review on Apple. You know, all the things. Finally, don't forget to take advantage of our free quarterly subscription that is in our podcast description. The link is right there. It's called Better Community, and we would love to have you join us there too. Until next time, take care.